Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. It's Russell with Ink and Paper Blog. How are you tonight? This is a weird introduction to what will be my October wrap-up video, but my husband has bought me a gift that I don't know what it is. It's an early Christmas present because I have my first author event next Tuesday where I'll be interviewing Jesse Chaffee and Geoff Nicholson regarding their books Florence and Ecstasy and the Miranda at East Bay Booksellers in Oakland, California. So he's gotten me a present and he wants me to open it on camera. So that's going to be the first part of this video. He's going to hand me a box right now and you guys are going to get to see what's in it at the same time I do. So let's do this.
There you go, baby.
Okay, so it's a big blue box.
It's black.
It's black, I'm sorry. So let me see what's in it. Open me up to the book. Oh, this is She-Hulk. You guys know how much you love She-Hulk.
That's actually mine, but it's just the point.
It's just a point. Oh, so... Oh my goodness gracious. So he has created Ink and Paper Blog bookmarks, which are also my business card, because all of my, if you can see this, the glare is bad, all of my information is on the back and the little logo that I use when I do my videos. Is that not the coolest thing you guys have ever seen? So if you come, I'll bring these to the event and you can get an Ink and Paper Blog bookmark. And then there's a t-shirt or a sweater involved. T-shirt. Oh my goodness. Look at this, you guys. Ink and Paper Blog t-shirts. That is so cool. Oh my goodness, there's two of them. And then I'm assuming that this is an Ink and Paper Blog sweatshirt. You guys, look at this. I have the best husband you have ever met in the world. Look at this sweatshirt. I'm going to be wearing Ink and Paper Blog t-shirts and sweatshirts. Oh, there's something on the left. Oh, the little logo is right here. Isn't that cool? Well, that's amazing, babe. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's awesome. So that is the opening to my October video. I will be back tomorrow to film the rest of it. My October wrap-up video, but it's going to happen on November 4th or 5th or whatever tomorrow is. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much. Bye. Hi everybody. Well, it's time for my October wrap-up. I hope you guys liked the first part of this video where I unboxed the stuff that my husband made for Ink and Paper Blog. Super exciting. It was very, very sweet of him. But I have a lot of books to get through, and I'm going to try to talk really, really fast. I do want to make a correction to my last November TBR. Now, if you guys know my channels, you know why I made this mistake, and if you watch my videos. But this is I talked about Fever Dream by Samantha Schweblin. I said she was Brazilian, and that the book was translated from Portuguese. If you watch my videos, you know why I thought that. But it turns out she's Argentinian, and the book was translated from Spanish. So I apologize. I apologize to Samantha, and I apologize to you guys for giving you incorrect information, but I wanted to make that correction. So I read a stack of books this month, so I have to say I had a pretty good reading month, and it all started with After the Flare by Deji, Bryce, Olukotun, and I'm saying that last name wrong. This is a dystopian future novel where a flare has occurred and basically technology is wiped out in almost all of the United States except basically across the equator. And at the start of the novel, there is a group of people on a space station and they are asked to evacuate to return to Earth, but there's not enough space for all of them, so one woman stays. The pretext of the book is that now in Nigeria, they are building a space station and space program in order to go to space in order to save her. So that's sort of it. It's set in the future. There's some sci-fi aspects to it that are really cool, that are really developed. There's also a lot of stuff about Nigeria, politics, and also other parts of sort of a mythical culture that I found really well done. However, I will say that Mr. Deji Bryce Olukotun has written two books, and the first one is called Nigerians in Space, and it's really a duology that I didn't read the first one, and I probably should have. So I highly recommend After the Flare, but I think you should probably read Nigerians in Space, because I think there were holes in the story that I would have understood better if I had read the first book. He is a fantastic writer. He has created a world that I definitely want to get back into. It was interesting and energetic, and I really liked it, but I would probably read the first one first. So that's Nigerians in Space and After the Flare by Deji, Bryce, Olukotun. So there you go. And I'm sorry, Deji, I probably pronounced all of your name wrong, but highly recommend your books. The next book I read was Moxie by Jennifer Mathieu. I've already done an entire video about what I think about this book, so I will link that below. All I will say is buy this book for every teenage boy and girl you know. It is fantastic. It's the story of a young girl who decides to do something about the sexism in her Texas high school. That's Moxie by Jennifer Mathieu. Check out my review video below. The next book I read is gotten a lot of hype, and that's Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado. And that's not Machado, it's Machado. Sorry, put an U there when there was an A. This is a collection of short stories. They are fantastic in nature. They have a sense of wonder to them. They're also dark and gritty. I reviewed the first story, The Husband Stitch, when I got that in my Page Habit box. So I really enjoyed that. My favorite story in this book was actually the novella that sits in the middle, and it is called Especially Heinous. And that is a sort of story of a set of cops who problematically can't seem to solve any crimes. There's a sense of that there are two other versions of them, doppelgangers, which are perfect and don't have the same issues that our main characters do. I was talking about this book with Simon this morning, and I explained that story as a way of saying that's sort of like episodic flash fiction. It's based on the idea of the LA Law, and is that what it's called? LA Law? I can't remember. I've never seen the show, so it didn't really mean anything to me, but I found it fantastic. It was like these brief bursts of action and story, and also creative character development. I think almost every story in here is really, really well done. There was one short story that I didn't quite understand, and I'm not sure I still understand. It's called Mothers, and I would say that it's sort of like a twisted version of Goldilocks and the Three Bears. But yeah, I don't know, it's weird. But I really, really highly recommend Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado. The next book I read was The Miranda by Geoff Nicholson. Now, he is one of the authors that I'll be interviewing on Tuesday at East Bay Booksellers. This is the story of a man named Joe who has, for years, been a psychologist or psychiatrist in charge of training people how to deal with torture in the world of war. At the beginning of the novel, he has quit that job and moved to a house, divorced his wife, and he makes the decision that he's going to walk this path that is around his house as many times as it takes to equal the circumference of walking around the world. There are many other characters that are introduced, and it has sort of a philosophical bend to it about coming to terms with the guilt of what you've done in your past and how that guilt sometimes, or that past sometimes, chases you. This book is kind of a mix for me between that philosophical piece and a modern-day thriller. When I finished it, I already had Daniel Craig playing the lead in it, and it was just sort of that sort of, at the end of it, your heart is kind of beating fast. It kind of has that sort of Bourne Identity feel to it. I really enjoyed The Miranda by Geoff Nicholson, and I highly recommend picking it up if you like a book that's going to sort of think about something but also have that thriller aspect to it. The next two books that I read are 5-star reads and are fantastic, and I think everyone should pick them up. The first is Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste, which has been everywhere, so I don't really need to talk about it much, but this is about a family, a mother and father and 4 children that are pretty wealthy, that live in Shaker Heights, Ohio. They own another property where a woman and her daughter move in. The mother is an artist and winds up working for the family. The book is about all of them coming together and how their pasts and how they run their lives all mixed together. And one of the daughters from the wealthy family becomes obsessed with the artist, and the daughter of the artist becomes obsessed with the family. It is also the story of a couple who is trying to adopt a Chinese baby when the mother comes forward wanting her daughter back, and the court battle and what goes on in the city over that discussion that's going on. Now, what's really interesting that this is a book about motherhood. This is a book about what it means to be a mother, and that there are different sort of lists that people make about what makes a good mother, and who is right and who is maybe has some misconceptions about what being a good mother really is. This book is fantastically written. Celeste Ng creates an entire community within these pages that you know a little bit about everyone she introduces you to, and you are attached to them. She really moves it along like, it's almost like a thriller, a small town that you are just wanting to know what's going to happen next. You want to know what these people are going to mean to each other. You want to know their history. You want to know how they've gotten to where they are in their lives. It is just brilliant, you guys. Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng is a read that you must put on your list if you don't already have it. And I just raved about that book, and I'm going to tell you that the next book I read was even better and is arguably fighting for my best read of the year. And that is Sing Unburied Sing by Jesmyn Ward. This novel is breathtakingly brilliant. This is the story of a family. This is the story of Jojo, who is a young boy who has been basically taking care of his sister because his mother is a drug addict. His mother is African American, his father is white, he is mixed clearly, and at the start of the novel it is his birthday, and the mother gets a phone call that the father, who has been in prison, has been released, and makes the decision that she and her children are going to go pick up the father. Now, the other really important characters in this are the grandparents, who basically have been raising this child, these children, and he has a great connection. Jojo has an amazing connection with his grandparents, especially his grandfather. This is a sort of a road story. As the family proceeds to there, you learn about why they are there. Now, the grandfather, you find out, was also incarcerated at Parchment Prison, and while he was there, he met a young boy named Richie, who didn't survive. And there is a story there, and you don't know what that story is. It comes to fruition, and it is heartbreaking. What this book is about is, this book is set in Mississippi. It is about family. It's about what it means to be a mother. It's also about the ghosts of the past. Now, the mom in the book is a drug addict, and when she takes drugs, she sees the ghost of her younger brother, who has also passed away, who sort of sits in judgment on her and looks at her in a way that makes her think about things. And she misses him so much that part of her addiction is her addiction to seeing her brother. Now, the young boy also, Jojo, sees the ghost of Richie and wants to come to understand why Richie died, and you learn about that history as well. This book is about race in Mississippi. This book is about motherhood and what makes a person a parent, and how a 15-year-old boy can be the parent of a young girl much more than the mother can be if she just doesn't try. This book is so beautifully written, you will stop in your tracks for some of the writing. It is also compelling, and it is up for the National Book Award, along with Her Body and Other Parties. I think it will win. I really think it will win. I don't know. It's between this and Pachinko. I definitely think that you'll see this for the Pulitzer. I just think this book is freaking brilliant. I would give it to everybody if I could buy a copy. It is so amazing. The next two books I'm going to try to go through fairly quickly. The first is The Children's House by Charles Lambert. I don't DNF a book very often, but I did DNF this. This is the story of a house that has a man that lives in it. He has been scarred from an accident that occurred in the past, and children miraculously start showing up. It's about the history of the house, the history of the family. It just didn't do anything for me. I did not care about the story. The characters were very flat, and they were really on the page to create sort of this sense of dread that I didn't feel, and I didn't care. Sorry, the light is changing. It has been cloudy and rainy all day, and the sun is peeking out, so my face on this side is turning super bright. I wouldn't read any more by Charles Lambert, and I don't have anything else to say about The Children's House. The last book I read this month is Grace by Natasha Deon. This was my book club book, which we meet tomorrow. This is a story of slavery. This book starts at the beginning, just before the Civil War, goes through the Civil War, and then past the Civil War. This is the story of Naomi. Naomi is a young 17-year-old slave who is pregnant at the start of the book, and this is no spoiler what I'm about to tell you. It's in the sort of the prologue. It happens in the first few pages. She's on the run because she's been accused of killing a white man, and she's being chased by 3 white men. She is pregnant and in labor as she runs away. She winds up having the baby and being shot and killed, and her ghost winds up being your narrator. The young girl who is born, her daughter Josie, is passably white. One of the men who is chasing them has just lost her daughter, connects to the baby and decides to save it, and gives it to a white woman on a plantation who has been barren. Now, the book flips between 2 storylines. Naomi tells the story of how she got to the point where she was killed. She also follows as a ghost her daughter Josie in the life that she lives moving forward. The book also flips between 3rd person and 1st person because the ghost talks in 1st person and the story is told in 3rd person, and it is extremely confusing, and it doesn't always smoothly transition. And there were times I didn't know which character's story I were following because the chapters would start with this word flash, which was supposed to be your key that it was in the past, but it was not always clear to me. Natasha Deon throws in just about everything that could happen to these women, and she doesn't do it in a way that makes it part of who they are. It's just a part of what happened, and it just isn't new. It's really hard for me to talk about it because I don't want to give anything away. There's also an aspect that happens in the middle of the book that almost made me stop, because it was like she stole an idea from a classic novel about slavery that she just wanted in her book and shoved it in, and it made 0 sense, and it made me angry. The story is fine. I think that she can write, but there's no prose that just stood out to me, and I was just kind of like, the whole thing. I really would have quit about halfway through because of this sort of thing that happened that I don't want to tell you. I didn't get it. I didn't understand what she wanted to say that was new about this time and this atrocity. I think if you want to read a novel about slavery that is saying something new or doing something different, read The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead, read Beloved, read The Known World by Jones. Read those novels. I wouldn't point you to Grace by Natasha Deon. It just didn't work for me. I gave it 2 stars, and I don't know, because I don't give a lot of 1 stars. So, Grace by Natasha Deon just didn't work for me. So I hope you are all well. This is a very long video, but as always, if you are a return subscriber, thank you so much for watching. If you're new to my channel, hello, I welcome you. Comment below if you've read any of these books. I would love to talk to you about them. And until next time, happy reading, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!